Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting, the regular board meeting for the Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education this evening. I know there's parking is a little bit of a challenge. We got the volleyball regionals going on this evening. A lot of folks on campus tonight. So we'll call the meeting to order. We have two folks that are absent this evening, Barb Cooper and Steve Bowerman, and Chad Tuttle is running a few minutes late. He'll join us as we proceed. We do have a quorum here before it goes, so we can move forward. Before we approve the agenda, I would like to make a comment or recognize that today is Veterans Day, and we do recognize and honor our veterans, both in the military or who have served in the military, deceased or living. And so we, again, we recognize them, we honor them, and especially our students from Hudsonville Public Schools that are in the military or have been in the military, and families of students in HPS that have been in the military as well. We, again, thank them for their service and their support of our community, and so we just wanted to recognize that this evening. So with that, actually we'll let Mr. Tuttle get up here and get settled in here. So we'll pause for just a moment. All right, so we have the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Motion by Chad Tuttle.
Support.
Support from Donna Sneeden. Any questions, comments, clarifications on the agenda this evening? Okay, with none, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next up, we have the Knights of Columbus presentation, as we have every year. And I'll just make a quick comment. Tony Mickey is here with us this evening from the Knights of Columbus. I know Tony well from church, and appreciate him being here. And with that, Tony, I'll turn it over to you for the presentation. Sorry, Tony and Mandy. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I thought I would just say that over the past several years, the Special Education Department has been very grateful as a recipient of dollars donated to us from the Knights of Columbus. As our heart has been to support students with disabilities, and their fundraising efforts have been specific to supporting students with disabilities. Last year's donation, we were able to purchase some print and digital instructional materials to support students with cognitive impairments. And these digital resources were particularly helpful to us during last year as we navigated both in-person and virtual learning opportunities. They continue to be a valuable resource to us as we continue to lean into instructional technology and assistive technology. So on behalf of the teachers and students who benefit from these resources, I'd like to say thank you to the Knights of Columbus, and as President Hall said, representing this group tonight is Mr. Tony McGianzi, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the board. Just wanted to say our organization is just an organization of men, husbands, and fathers who want to always give back to the community that they live in. So we represent out of a Holy Redeemer Church in Jenison. So our community, of course, goes into Hudsonville and Jenison. So we recognize that there are needs, and we will always be able to help those in our parish, those in our community, in any way we can. So you may have seen us in the past where we call it the Tootsie Roll Drive, where we'll be in front of Gammons, in front of Family Fair, and other community areas where we'll ask for donations, and those funds go exactly, what we bring in goes right back out to the kids in our community. So we're very proud to be able to do this. This year was a challenging year, of course, as we all know, and we didn't have the opportunity that we did in previous years in terms of the number of people that were able to come and help us, and the number of opportunities we had to be able to bring funds in. But we hope to do better this year and this coming spring. So thanks very much for this opportunity, and thanks for hosting us.
Yes, so thank you again on behalf of the Special Education Department for this generous donation. I think we're just going to pause and take a quick picture, if that's okay.
Thank you again, Tony. We really appreciate the support. We really appreciate the support. We appreciate the partnership so much. And my time on the board has been tens of thousands of dollars that have been donated to our school. I know Genesee and Grand will benefit as well. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for the support. And we look forward to another next year. Exactly. So great. Thank you. Okay, with that, we move on to the student council report, and I think Annie's, there she is, she's here this evening, so, to that.
Hello! Us high schoolers, we're almost done with exams. We have one more day left, so fire up for that. There's not much of an update from student council other than something we've been doing over the past couple days for exams. We went around to the parking lot and put sticky notes on students' cars, and we wrote stuff like, good luck on exams, 100% you'll do great. Just some fun stuff like that, just to get people in the mood for exams. For the future, we're working on spirit days and other ideas for like holidays and breaks and stuff like that. So that's all I have to update you guys with. Thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you, Annie. Any
Yep.
questions or comments for Annie? We have her? Okay, thank you for the update. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
all that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. All right, next we move on to the consent agenda. So we have the items listed there in the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the items in the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Motion by Larry Kappengaub,
I'll support that.
support by Mark Davis. Questions, comments, clarifications on consent agenda items?
Just a quick question on the trip requests. Are they actually performing, or is it more like a conference?
They're performing.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Okay, can I have we have a motion. So can all those in favor of the consent agenda items, approving those, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. So consent agenda is all set. We next move on to regular action agenda. First up, we have summer tax resolution, and Mr. Briggs, are you taking that?
Thank you. The agenda in the packet is to give the district authority to levy summer taxes. Without this, all the taxes will be levied in the winter. And the reason the district made this decision to switch to a 100% summer levy in, I think it was 2014, was to improve the cash flow for the school district. It's very beneficial to get all the taxes on the summer roll. It's a hassle for property owners to split the school taxes between the summer and the winter bill. I've had that in other districts. This is a much better situation. And it does things like it allows us to have our funds in time, so when we make the November interest payments on bonds, we don't have to go to the school bond loan fund for those payments. It helps us with things like the month of September, we don't get a payment from the state for state aid. So just, it was done before Pat, before Briggs, and it's a great idea. Glad I walked into this, and it's just a nice thing for the district. So that's what the resolution does for us.
Okay, can I have a motion and second, please, to approve that the board approve the summer tax resolution as presented by Mr. Briggs?
I move we approve it.
Motion by Mark Davis,
Support.
support from Dawn Sneeden. Any questions or comments?
Do we do this every year, Pat?
Yes.
And how many years have we been split? It's been 4 or 5 years now.
I believe the first year to do this was 2014
Yeah.
calendar year, so
Okay.
so it's just 7 years.
Good. Other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next up, we have bid approval for Forest Grove Gym, Georgetown parking lot, and Jamestown upper and south windows.
Yes, thank you. So this is a consolidation. A lot of times we'll have all these packages broken up into separate bid packages. but just the good planning of OAK, our construction manager, they said we'll get a lot better bid participation on some of these smaller projects if we bundle them. So this is a bundling resolution. As you can see in the packet, we did get good participation from good contractors. It's no secret, this is not a time when contractors are really that desperate for work, but because of the history of Hudsonville schools, the good design of GMB, and OAK does a really good job advertising and marketing and getting those bidders to understand what the project's about. So we're happy with the bid participation, and this time of year, I say in this economy, we did pretty well compared to our budget. It's a lot of projects are just they're so far over budget that people have to go back out to bid. So we feel happy about the bid participation and prices as well. And we got the right people to bid on the right project, so that's helpful.
Okay, can I have a motion for that the board approve the bids for the district improvements in the amount of $2.3 million as reviewed by Pat Briggs?
So moved.
Motion by Don Sneeden,
Support.
support from Chad Tuttle. Questions or comments from the board?
Just, I'm looking at, the low roofing, Great Lakes Systems, is that who also just won the other award?
Yes. Yeah, they got the rebid for 5-6 building. And they're very local.
Good.
Right down the road, right down Port Shell.
Other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay, action item number 3, board policy edition, second reading.
Thank you. So we have a second reading for Board Policy 2240. Normally, this is a policy that goes through the policy committee, then go first reading of the board, and second reading of the board. We do have 2 board members that are not present this evening, so I'd like to recommend to the board, there have been a couple modifications after the first reading. So my recommendation would be we look at this as a second reading with a recommendation to bring it back for a third reading before adoption, because we have 2 members that are not present this evening. There's a couple changes. They are noted in green on the first reading was red, second reading is in green. There's one slight change to the document that you have. Near the bottom of the page, above the green, it should be stricken the who shall report periodically is in there twice. So that would be stricken, but you'll get a clean copy of that. And if you have questions prior to the third reading, we definitely want to open that up and have conversations with the board. We can do that at the next work session prior to bringing that back to the board for a third reading and approval. It is not uncommon to have 3 readings of policies. So normally we have a first reading and second reading, but when there are changes, it's always good to make sure we get the policy that's set by the board in place accurately and describes exactly what they're asking for. So that is a recommendation tonight for a second reading to bring it back for a third reading at the next board meeting.
Okay, so we'll take 2 motions on this. The first motion will be to take the second reading as the current recommendation on the policy, and then the second motion will be to bring it back for a third reading.
I think you can just do it as one motion for a second reading, but it doesn't. The recommendation is not for adoption. It's only
Correct,
for a
not for
second
adoption.
reading. So the recommendation tonight is just for a second reading. The next time we come together will be for
Okay.
third reading and adoption.
Okay, so the fact that we're not adopting tonight,
Correct, we're not adopting.
that's not required, that's second
That's
motion.
right.
Okay, got it. All
So
right.
how about, because as printed in the agenda, it says resolved that we approve the second and final reading. How about if I make a motion that we approve the second reading of the board policy and return it for a third reading?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
I'll support that.
Okay, motion made, support. Any questions or comments? Further clarifications on this before we go? Good thinking, Chad. Okay, all in favor of that motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, now we move on to advanced narrative composition course proposal, first reading.
Good evening. Believe it or not, we are already beginning to anticipate the start of the 2022-23 school year. As we bring to you for first reading this evening, approval of a course for high school seniors. It's advanced narrative composition class. The primary focus of this class would be the opportunity for students to be guided through a workshop model, producing multiple essays for college entrance exam or college applications, as well as scholarships. And so the requirement would be that they compile multiple essays for grades, select their essays that they will use for the application process for admittance into college, and then after that, because of the deadlines for early college submission, they would request that students also seek scholarship funds as well and submit essays for applying for those scholarships as well. So very much targeted towards seniors. There is a strong belief of the staff at the high school that they would not want this to be their only ELA course their senior year. It would be offered first trimester with very specific outcomes that are connected to standards, as well as applying for college and scholarships as well. So I present that this evening for first reading.
Okay, can I have a motion and second, please, that the board approve the first reading of the high school course proposal, advanced narrative composition, as recommended by Ms. Taylor. Motion by Don Sneeden and support from Mark Davis. Questions, comments, clarifications? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last action item this evening is a human resources item. Ms. Armstrong, you're taking this?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Back at a work session on September 27, the board approved a job description for a state and federal program coordinator. So we posted and interviewed for that position. And tonight I bring to Dr. Vanderjack and the board a recommendation to hire Andy Secor in that position. Andy, you know, when we look at this position and the needs for this position, we need someone that, this might sound like two different things here. We need someone that's really independent, but also a really strong collaborator. And we know we have that in Andy. Andy has been with the district since 2016 as a very amazing, strong leader at Jamestown Upper. But we know that he is ready for a change and a challenge in this new position, and we know that he would be an amazing asset to the district in this way. So, Dr. Anjak, and the board, I bring Andy Secor the recommendation for this position.
Okay, can I have a motion and second that the board approve the recommendation for the state and federal program coordinator position of that position being filled by Andy Secor as presented by Ian Armstrong?
So moved.
Motion by Chad Tuttle,
Support.
support from Dawn Sneeden. Questions, comments from the board? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Congratulations, Andy.
There he is. Congratulations, Andy.
Yeah.
Look forward to your reward. Okay, next we move on to discussion items. First up is scoreboard options.
So there's a reason why parking is a little bit more challenging, because they're building a field house directly to our south. In your packet, you should see some options for scoreboards. I'd like to ask Mr. Briggs to run through some of the options regarding where we are with this decision and ask for input from the board. So, Mr. Briggs.
Thank you, Dr. Vanderjack. So just to get a little bit of context and color here, when we were doing the design, particularly the bond budget for the new field house, we're talking like 3 years ago. Technology is changing so fast that as we went through the design, we really just put a placeholder in place for the scoreboards in there now. We know that every month, it seems like every day, technology advances, and it's like the TVs. This year's newest TV comes down in price every year, so we didn't want to buy tomorrow's technology until we want to buy today's technology. So we left a placeholder in the bond budget, and it was basically an analog scoreboard. And the facility that the community supported is amazing. Some people will say it's a 3,400 seat facility. Some people will say 3,700 seats. I guess we'll have to actually count when we actually get in there. But it'll be big enough at least to hold our kids for an assembly now. So in the playbook, you'll see really there 4 options. It's two different versions, 2 sizes. One has 3.9 millimeters between pixels, and the other one is 5.9 millimeters between the pixels. And I'm not a scoreboard or a visual expert, but the one that is 3.9 millimeters between the pixels is very bright, crisp, clear. You see it a lot farther away, and the image is just, it needs less light support. So in the playbook there, we have you'll see the option that's basically 6.5 feet by 11.5 feet, and then you'll see the option that's 8 feet by 13 feet. Our recommendation is that we take the brighter version of the 6.5 by 11.5 scoreboard. Reasons why is we feel that's big enough for the space. The other scoreboard would be nice, but it's almost like giants. When you look up there, I mean, it's pretty big anyways, but I think the 6.5 by 11.5 fits quite nicely in the space. So that's our preference. We open it up for discussion.
Yeah, so one of the discussions was around the scoreboard and how well lit the new field house will be. In utilizing the scoreboard in a night like tonight, the number of, I guess the definition of it, the high definition or low, it's kind of irrelevant when it's that dark in there, but there are times when there's a lot of light in the field house. We have an event, particularly in the spring or even in the summer when we're using the field house. So I want to thank the work that GMB has done to help design the trusses in the ceiling to allow the scoreboard to actually be kind of placed into the ceiling, so that when there's an event going on that doesn't require the scoreboard, you can kind of move it out of the way. You see that at other field houses and arenas that you can move it out of the way. But also can be lowered for basketball, and then can be raised a little bit more for volleyball. Everyone has a required height that we can do this with. The nice thing about a video board, number one, it allows for other interactions when you're using the board. When you have maybe an all-school assembly and you put your kids at different places in the gym, you can use it. You can put other information on the board, not just video, but scores and different demographics and senior night and those kind of exciting things that take place. On a night like tonight, when the gym, quite frankly, is full of people watching volleyball right now, I'm looking forward to a regional event here in a couple years. So just want to have some discussion with the board about their thoughts about the scoreboard, what that would look like, and just get some input. We have time. We are not putting the scoreboard in this week. The prices that we have, we don't anticipate them going up. If anything, they might go down a little bit. But just to get an idea of what the take was from the board regarding the scoreboard that we'd be putting in there, it would be nice to get our GMB to have an opportunity to say, okay, now we know exactly what we're putting in there. Let's get everything done. Okay. So the cost of the rigging, the trusses and how they're both, all of that is set. It's irrelevant. It simply is the size of the scoreboard.
So a couple questions. Are there variations on lighting? You said it was smaller but brighter as in LED lighting, or do we know anything about that?
We had the electronics truck out here one day, and as they explained it to us, it was the distance between similar lights, but the distance between the lights. The one that is more expensive is essentially denser. There's less distance between. It's
It's kind of a definition of your TV, like a high definition for regular. If you look at this, the monument sign outside of the high school here that talked about the events going on at the high school, that's a different millimeter distance, where the new sign over at Baldwin and Georgetown is smaller, more of a high definition. You could do more graphics with it that you can actually see, and it doesn't look like it's pixelated.
Yeah. We looked at a sign, it was pretty sunny that day. It was outside and it needed no help. You could see it just like you could have, it looked like it was in a movie theater, that quality was excellent.
Have you seen this particular model actually in a facility? Or did they say whether there's a facility you could go look to see what it looks like?
Yeah, so Byron Center has something very similar. They don't have a center scoreboard, but they have the same screen on the wall. And so looking at that, it's nice. It looks nice. It adds to the facility.
I would like the biggest, brightest, highest def scoreboard we can afford. What's in the budget and how these prices compare to what our placeholder was?
Yes, good question. So our placeholder was really wood with analog. So that was a $55,000 placeholder. And the option that we're recommending is $299,000.
How much is the analog version?
$55,000.
What is the 55,000?
Yes.
And I know the project originally came in pretty significantly under budget.
Yes.
So where do we stand in terms of the project budget and the project contingency?
So through the last accounting of it, I've got a couple bills. We were at 21% spent of our contingency, and we really hadn't touched the savings yet. So we were north of $6 million with contingency and savings available.
In 21% of contingency spent, but we're not much out of the ground.
Yeah, yeah. The worry, I'd say, and I know you've done 10 times many projects than me, but our biggest worries have been getting out of the ground. So we feel we've got the largest risk behind us.
It's usually get out of the ground and then get enclosure. So it would be helpful to know, like I would like to think we've got the adequate budget for the higher scoreboard, and I think we can. It would be helpful to know how much time we've got to make a decision, and can we get a little more out of the ground and get closer to enclosure. If we feel like we've got contingency, I do feel it's something that, if we end up holding graduations, events, others, this would be a really nice feature to have if we.
Yeah, I would say we're probably 9 months away from having to make that decision. We'll know a lot more. A lot has happened in 6 months. We were moving dirt 6 months ago, and now the connection between the two buildings is the roof's on the second floor, and a lot has happened. So I think we have time to make that decision. I think the conversation tonight is, do we want to continue to pursue this avenue? And it sounds like continue to have the discussions and see where we are in a few months and see what we can do next. Like I said, it's not going to change the trusses, and we don't have to redo that. But it's also, we know there's going to be a time we'll have to make a decision to get it ordered in time, to get it together and put it up.
It'd also be helpful to know expected useful life and warranties of the various options.
Okay. Good.
Now you said Byron Center has kind of a flat model of this.
Yeah, it's against their wall, so ours would be in the center. This is against it.
My granddaughter, Hope College, they have one in the center there at the arena. Is it like that one, or?
I think it's this. Is it pretty close? Luke's shaking his head. I think I'm pretty close. Yes. I don't know the exact dimensions of the one at Hope.
Did
or
this
the
company do
fix-
the one at Hope, you know?
I don't think Daktronics did Hope.
I'm just trying to.
We can find out.
I've seen the pictures. It'd just be nice if there was someplace I could go and
Yeah.
look at it in operation.
And somewhere close enough that we can look at it without having to.
My little trip.
Okay.
Good. So did you get that? So some information as Chad requested, and then where a model or a similar model is that we can do a go and see. Maybe some would like to do a go and see it in action if we can.
And I would think that they would know if the whole plan is close to what they have. And that's it.
You just check with them. Good.
Yes.
Other questions or comments on this? Okay.
Could we just have a conversation about the, in the design playbook, there's also,
Yeah, so the last 2 pages, thanks Pat, the last 2 pages reference a new entrance to the high school. With the addition of the field house, the student parking is on the other end of the field house. So when the students come into the building, we do not want them entering through the field house to get into the high school. The entrance that normally is the entrance that is on just a little bit farther west that kids use now, truly is an entrance into the building, but not identified as an entrance. We'd like to extend the vestibule just a little bit on that entrance, so we have a secure vestibule at that entrance, and also label it as a student entrance. So you can see in the playbook, it has a little bit of a design. The doors are a little bit wider, because there'll be a volume of students traveling through there. Right now, there are 2 entrances on that side. Actually, there are 3 entrances on that side of the building. It will truly go down to 1. So that'll be the main entrance for students to come in on that side. You can see what the entrance would look like. Basically labeled it as the student entrance. So when people come to a basketball, volleyball, wrestling, whatever they come to the field house, they might see that entrance, but it's identified as a student entrance. So we wanted to make sure we show you what that looks like, and kind of the addition. It's a very minor change on that side of the building, but it truly is identified as an entrance for students to come in, coming from the, as you saw, the new parking lot, the larger parking lots on the south side of the building.
There'll be a lot of foot traffic there. Can that hallway accommodate that?
We think it can. Yes, it will. The morning will be easy because kids don't all come at the same time. After school, based on how they navigate that, that's where we're widening the doors a little bit. I will tell you the expense of moving the staircase and redoing that whole area would be about 10 times the amount we think we can navigate with enough room to get through the volume. GMB did look at the volume of traffic going through there, so we're confident that'll help that.
So on the south side, then there would be no other exit. I mean, obviously it has to be fire code approved and
Sure.
everything else, but is there any other, even though it's not an official entrance, any other exit?
Yeah, so you'll still have the entrance by what used to be the choir room, which is on the far west side of the building. You'll still have exits by the field house. Quite frankly, you're walking down the hallway, either this hallway right up here, I know I'm pointing, sorry, but right down this hallway, or even the hallway behind us, that'll lead you into the field house. Both of them have exits on both sides. So if there's any kind of emergency exit, there's plenty of volume to get out. We just want to channel incoming foot traffic through one area. If kids come in a little bit late, we'll have security. If you see in the drawing, there's a little bit of a kind of a vestibule with a desk there. We can monitor traffic that comes in on a normal site.
That was my question. We have accommodated for security.
Yeah,
Good.
that's right.
Okay. Other questions, comments on the entrance? Okay, thank you, Mr. Briggs. Okay, next discussion item, Ottawa County Department of Public Health mask mandate.
Yeah, I did want to,
Status.
yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. I just want to have a quick discussion with the board. 2 weeks ago, Ottawa County Health Department, when the vaccines became available for ages 5 through 11, Ottawa County Health Department notified us that their mandate requiring masks will be lifted come January 3rd, which is our first day back after holiday break. We have a letter prepared to send to our community regarding addressing that mandate. In the past, as you know, we had a letter prepared and we had sent one to our parents prior to school starting, saying that we will follow the recommendation of the health department, and at that point, the health department did not require a mask mandate. We sent that letter out 3 days before school started. Ottawa County Health Department issued a mask mandate, which was, the timing was not ideal, and I'm not an epidemiologist, I don't want to get into those discussions, but we then followed that mandate. When they reduced the mandate, when they required it only for grades pre-K through 6, We allowed our students grades 7 through 12, we highly recommended it, but we not require masks. The letter prepared to send to staff tomorrow says that we will still be following the Ottawa County Health Department recommendations through January 3rd and after. And their recommendation is that they highly recommend masks. We will do the same thing. We are not requiring masks after January 3rd, but we would highly recommend it. I just went ahead and have a discussion with the board. I didn't want to send something out that the board would like to take action otherwise, and we can have that discussion also. I will tell you that we feel very confident in the ability we have to protect students that may feel vulnerable or have a vulnerable staff member or family member at home when it comes to actions that we take in the classroom, from social distancing to protecting our students as best we can in the classroom. That is our communication. Now, I will tell you that I'm not, I can't tell you if the Ottawa County Health Department is going to issue another mandate. If the state will issue another mandate, that is out of our control. But at this point, it looks like the mandate will expire January 3rd, and then our students could be highly recommended for masks, but not required. If you've watched the news at all lately, you'll see all the schools that are closing around us. And just to give some context to that, most schools are closing in the area not because of student absences or illness or quarantines. Most of them are closing due to staff absences, illness, and quarantines. I had a long discussion with our legislators today about the difference between a percent of students out of the classroom and a percent of staff out of the classroom. If 10% of our students are out of the building, it's noticeable. And it's a lot of work for a teacher to help students make up work or go remote. But when 10% of your staff is out of the building, you're pulling, and it's not like there's an abundance of subs out there. And if there's anybody that wants to sub, we encourage you to sign up. And I mean that because anywhere you look, there are not subs in the district, in any district. But we have, when you have 10% of your staff that are out, I can tell you we have 2 buildings that we've been monitoring very carefully. If they have one more staff member that cannot make it to work, we might very well have to have a building go remote. And it's not because of the volume of students, it's because of the volume of staff. So I know I'm tying a couple things together here, but I want to make it clear because people are saying, you know, it's not, you know, we're doing fine. It is not, it's a lot of work. I do want to thank Ann Armstrong, Mrs. Armstrong. I want to thank our building principals. They are covering classrooms daily. They are contact tracing still. And they're still trying to lead their building with everything else going on. It's a lot. And so I do want to thank them. I know they're here. And if you're not here, I still thank you for what you do. But that's kind of where we are. Again, the communication will go out regarding the mask. I just want to have the discussion. If you have questions regarding that, I guess now would be a great time to have that discussion.
I guess in light of the potential not having a mandate for masks, especially at the elementary level, do you see that that is only going to increase staff shortages, or are there concerns about that coming from the union as to whether or not that's going to have an impact since it will no longer be a mandate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think part of the challenge that we had initially with the mandate is you don't always know the answer to that until you go into the situation, right? So we have a majority of our staff that may be vaccinated. I will tell you that staff have different requirements for masks than students. And that is, you have a federal, I know that's being held up in court, and we'll see how that plays out. But at this point, you know, a lot of that changes come December. But staff have different requirements regarding masks and what they need to do to keep themselves safe. And I do believe that we have students that will continue to wear masks. We have high school students that wear masks on a regular basis. It's a comfort level for them, and they feel it's protecting them, and we support that 100%. So I believe that, you know, we have masks at all of our elementary buildings, and we have outbreaks at at our elementary buildings. We have cases at the high school, we have cases across the district. To date, this is maybe a week ago, we had over 3 times as many cases the first 2.5 months of school than we did last year, the first 2.5 months of school, and we shut down. So if you put that in perspective, if these numbers were what they were last year, they would be shutting us down, and we still feel, from a staffing standpoint, that's our biggest challenge. But we think that we think that through this change, that our staff and students will be good.
I'll just say, I support the approach of following the guidance of the health department. If they go to recommend, then we go to recommend, and let parents and their kids decide. I just want to make sure that we make it a safe environment for those who decide that they do want to wear a mask, that we make sure, I've heard from parents on both sides of this issue, and those who want their kids in masks, the biggest fear is that the kids may be bullied for wearing a mask, and wanting to make sure that it's a safe environment, and that we support those kids who choose to wear a mask.
Great. Other thoughts, comments? Okay, thank you for that update and that overview. And again, we'll see how the court case plays out here. Okay, we move on to report items. First report item is transportation letter of agreement.
So we had a letter of agreement with transportation. Pat, were you gonna? Yes. Sorry.
Thank you. As we've discussed, I think it's one of the worst kept secrets that there's a driver shortage. It's not just in schools, it's a national transportation issue, and this, fortunately for Hudsonville, I will say that the team, not only the support staff in the office, but the drivers, the recently retired, the mechanics, they have rallied so many times to help us just not have to cancel a route. I tell the story, there was a day when someone who was a local farmer had a weather day, and they came out of the farm, it was their dispatching that day, they came off the farm and said, hey, don't have to harvest this afternoon. Can you use a hand? And we said, yes, we won't have to cancel the route now. And that's happened a number of times. So so kudos to the community, and just everybody has come around us. But we talked to the board a couple months ago about the need to keep the people and reward the people who are really doing more on their jobs. The drivers are literally filling in the middle of routes and picking up kids across the district when there is, we've changed routes as the years gone on. We've changed, most of the parents out here know that we changed 6 or 7 routes in a major way, and we made tweaks on 4 routes. So to recognize the extra work the drivers are doing, we put in place, along with them, in collaboration with them, a driver incentive. And this payment is, they're gonna get a $500 payment on this next payroll, and then they're gonna get an $800 payment if they stay throughout the year. So $1,300 total. And that's to our existing staff, our existing drivers. And then we also, in that letter of agreement, we put together a system where they would get, new drivers would get $1,300 split up in 3 payments if they reach certain milestones and stay throughout the year. So it was a big boost to their morale. They deserve it, and we look forward to a great year. And we think that recognizing them for, it's not like they were saying they wouldn't do it without that, but it sure is nice to be able to recognize them for their efforts. So I talked to the association. I think we had 2 big meetings, but yeah, the association was very supportive, and it helped us work out a lot of details about how it would be a positive versus those things that sometimes you have an intervention that isn't as positive as it could be. So we appreciate the support of the Drivers Association and the drivers. It was a good team effort.
Thanks to Pat and both of you for the work with that. I mean, it's a lot, and I do want to thank Mr. Matthews. I know he's not here, the Director of Transportation. There's some, every morning waking up, making sure we have routes to pick our kids up getting to school. Added stress to everybody. Thank you.
Do you see any relief on the horizon? I mean, we were sort of dealing with the driver shortage even before the pandemic, right? I mean, we were always sort of on the edge there. But what's your look at the crystal ball, Pat? What do you see?
We've been able to make it. I mean, it's. I don't think it's going to really improve a great deal. There are a couple days when we have. I mean, we normally have this time of year we have 63 route drivers on the road every day, and we're down to 54. We've consolidated that much. So, but just with 54 people, things happen. We've had a couple bugs run through the department, and they stand up really well. But when you get in the cold and flu season, it's tough. So we have 4 drivers in the pipeline. 2 have sat for the exam, and 1 is doing the beginning bus driver training. So just a driver or 2 will help a lot. So I believe the department, Ann and I are certainly just supporting them with recruiting and any other efforts we can come up with. But it's going to be a tough year. But they've just pulled together. Can't say enough about their collaboration and teamwork to do what's best for kids.
Other questions, comments on the transportation agreement for Ben?
And this is an agreement related to this school year?
Yes.
Just this school year?
Sunsets, yes.
And it sounds like with the loss of some of the drivers, we probably have a net, probably positive even in the budget with the bonuses, or evens out?
It'll be pretty close. I mean, just some of the we're really down 8 drivers, so it's some of that gets spread over other drivers. So, but we don't see it being a big increase, no. And like as Chad said, it's not a recurring cost. It's just it's all one-time pay.
Other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Pat. Thank you for your leadership and working through that agreement and keeping our buses on the road.
Thank you.
And our students coming to school. Okay, next up we have administrative updates, and I believe our principals are going to, central office staff are going to do updates for us.
Yeah, I'll start since I'm
Okay.
sitting
Yeah,
here.
please
That
do.
sounds great. One of the updates I would like to talk about is, one of the things that just brings me a lot of joy in my position is working with our new teachers, our new staff, but especially with our new crop of new teachers. And then within that new teacher group are new teachers, like this is their first job. And so Amy and Mandy and I met last week before, time is different, with our new teachers, and we went through some activities, but at the very beginning we got to kind of just talk to them about like an aha moment they saw in their classroom already this year, a really great thing that they've learned from their mentor and with their mentor-mentee experience, and then also just something that brings them joy, inside of work or outside of work. And it was just great to connect with this group of educators and hear about the amazing things that they are seeing in the classroom every day, and also just what they're bringing to our district. And it was awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you, and just the great work that our new staff is doing.
Good evening, Mark Hegel, South Elementary School. Congratulations, Andy. Yep. It's been exciting to have parents back in the building this school year. I know we haven't given an update for a little while, so it seems like a long time, but to have parents in the building, just about every table down the hallway has a parent or a grandparent working with a student or two, going through sight word cards or math facts. Kids Hope has already started. We have 2 supporting churches with that. And probably, my numbers may be a little off, but probably 24 students already matched with partners. And it's kind of a revolving front door, but it's great to see another set of adults building into our kids. And then we're excited, Watchdogs is coming back. We're going to start that back up after the Thanksgiving break. And so if you're not familiar with that program, that's a national program where there's a structure by which dads, stepdads, sometimes grandparents come in, and it's a positive male role model, which is sometimes absent in some of our kids' lives. And it's an opportunity for them to come in and, I'll say, spend a day. Some of them at the end say endure the day, where they get a chance to go into every grade level, not every class, which is a really great experience we've heard from dads. Sometimes you think, hey, I just want to spend the whole day with my kid. But they get an opportunity to see some former teachers of their kids. If it's a kindergartner, they get to go into 5th grade and see what 5th grade is going to be like in a number of years. And so they get an opportunity to just experience a day with their children and the students at South. We just finished up, as I'm sure a lot of the elementary principals will talk about, some tutoring. So we had 2 different tutoring sessions for kids who we identified early in the year. They went Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for an hour. We just finished that up. I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks. Daily intervention groups, parent-teacher conferences coming up that we're planning for. So lots of great things going on. And then just to draw back into your recollection, I can't finish without at least a lighter side, because sometimes the work we do is heavy, and it's important work that we do. But I stay in elementary because the kids are pretty funny. And I get a chance, if you look for it, to find things. So today I was in the cafeteria for a lot of different reasons, but a 4th grade student stopped me and said, Mr. Hegel, I have a joke for you. I said, go for it. He said, why did the alligator eat a GPS? Answer, because he's a navigator. So that was my 4th grade humor for the day.
Good evening, board. I'm Mackenzie Stefanich, the principal at Jamestown Lower Elementary. And Mark just said all the things that the rest of the elementary principals had on our list. So I guess no, I'm just kidding. Okay, I have talked about this before, but Jamestown Lower is a CATCH school. And CATCH is a program where we work in partnership with Spectrum Health, and we have some Spectrum Health nurses come into our classrooms. And CATCH stands for Coordinated Approach to Child Health. And every month we have visitors come in and meet with our kids. And last year was the first year we did it, and all of our lessons were virtual. So this year's been really cool to have the nurses come in and teach our kids about go foods, woe foods, and slow foods, how to get active and keep moving. And it's just been a really great opportunity for our kids to have that person in front of them. They also get the chance to do some food tastings and sometimes tasting fruits and vegetables that maybe they don't often get exposed to. So it's just been a really great start to the year. We have teachers and parents on our committee, and we actually just had our 2nd meeting this morning. So that's been off to a great start. And then I also wanted to say Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans in the community and in the audience today. Jamestown Lower had the opportunity to work with one of our parents who reached out. He works with Old National Bank, and he asked us if we wanted to participate in an opportunity to honor our veterans. And so our students pre-K through 2nd grade were able to color some pictures and write letters to veterans, and our parent who, through Old National Bank, delivered them to the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans today. So that was an exciting way for our students to participate in Veterans Day as well.
Hi, I'm Dawn Harriman, principal at Park Elementary. Mackenzie's right. A lot of what Mark shared, we're all kind of hip deep in. One of the things Mark mentioned is fresh in my mind right now is mentoring. It's been a big difference this year to have our mentors back in the building in person, and Kids Hope is such a huge part of some of our students' lives, and some of these mentors work with our kids from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. And having a year without those hugs and people playing games and things was a big loss for a lot of those students and also a lot of the mentors. And some of those mentors show up every single week at our schools, and so it's just been such a joy to see those people reconnect. Some of those kids like literally run down the hall when they realize like, oh, Mr. Roger is back. I can't believe it. I get to give him a hug. And so it's really fun, and they're in the building every day. We've been partnering with the high school with some of our NHS kids to do all sorts of different mentoring. We've got students who are non-English speakers, and some of our NHS kids have language, and so they can come in and mentor some of our little ones who struggle in school. That's been really a neat partnership, and some of our special needs kids as well. I have a really neat mentorship thing that evolved by itself. One of my students in the cognitively impaired program and one of my kindergartners, and the student in the CI program is a little older, and observed at morning drop-off that this kindergartner needed help getting to the classroom every single day. So he said, I'll be his buddy. And so every morning, this little 4th grader grabs this kindergartner's hand and walks him to class. He feels like a rock star, and the kindergartner feels like he's got a big brother. And it was just a neat way that you see like our students at every level are beginning to mentor, and that's part of what this Hudsonville community is all about.
Good evening, I'm Randy Walden, principal at Georgetown. Like they said, just a lot of the same things. A couple things that I'll echo. It's great doing some of the, I'll just say normal quote unquote things again, or seeing the parents in the building and doing things like that. One thing specifically we did the last couple weeks, the turkey trot was virtual again this year, but one of our PE teachers took it on herself. We communicated to our parents, any student that participated in that, wear their shirt on a day, and we got up together quick in the morning. We did one lap around our track outside, took a picture, and it was great just to kind of do something like that with them, and I know that the kids loved it. That was great. Just kind of echoing some of the things that Pat had said earlier, and I've told Rob this before, and I'll just say to you guys too, the bus drivers that come to our building every day are amazing. Not only just in filling all those holes and things like that, but they came last week to do our kindergarten safety demonstrations and things like that, and they're just an extension of some of that mentoring piece that Dawn was talking about. So many of them that I see talk to kids as they're getting on and off the bus, or pull them aside to have a conversation with them. And sometimes it's about what's going on the bus, but sometimes it's about what's going on in school too. And they're actively involved with our PBIS, giving out SOAR tickets for bus behavior and things like that too. And it's great to have like all those pieces, and our drivers do a great job with that. One little funny anecdote, it's not as great as Mark's joke, but that I'll give this week that made me laugh at school and just kind of spoke to the energy and the innocence and the fun that our kids come to school with every day. Usually meet our kids at the bus every day with a few others, and I noticed that one of our 2nd or 3rd graders set his bag down. He started walking back, and I couldn't figure out what he's doing, so it caught my attention. And he noticed a pile of leaves around the base of one of our maple trees out back by our bus loop. And he ran, jumped up, and landed right in the pile. The only problem is it wasn't really a pile. It was just some leaves scattered around the built-up wood chips and dirt around the tree. And his face, his excitement when he's going to jump in the pile, and then the look on his face when he realized the mistake he made, and then the laughter when he was catching up to his friends when they were going, "What are you doing?" But just the fact that our kids get off the bus. I mean, it's cold, it's wet, and he saw the opportunity to jump in a pile of leaves, and he was going to take it. And it's great at Georgetown with all this stuff going on, and it's a good group of kids and teachers and everybody to jump in a pile of leaves in, even when it's not actually leaves. So.
Good evening, I'm Melanie McClure, the principal at Allward Elementary. So we've also been really excited to have our parents back in the building. We get to have them for our Halloween parties, and we braved the weather. We did our parade in the slight rain in the afternoon, and we had, I think, more parents than we've ever had come to our parade. They were parked everywhere, and the Port Sheldon area is a really busy area, and I think they filled up the Allward neighborhood and walked on over, bringing their umbrellas and raincoats, and it was just really great to have them be a part of that with our students. And it was really great through September and October to have the high school football players come. So a lot of people have been talking about mentoring, and they are such great mentors for our kids. Our kids are so excited to see them every Friday, having them in the building. I would love to see if we could have maybe some of the girls basketball players come. Just different ideas of ways we can have those high schoolers come into our buildings. They got to participate in our walkathon celebration event with us too. And they were not very nice. They threw the slime at me really hard and almost knocked me off the chair. But it was a lot of great fun, and it's just really great to see past students coming back and just having such a big impact on our kids. So it's been really nice to get back to some of the things that we've been doing, and we're really excited to have our Hope mentors coming back soon. So we'll be starting that as well. So.
In the area of special services, I thought I would just highlight a project that we were able to begin again this fall. So related to peer-to-peer supports, or oftentimes we call that links. That looks a little different between elementary and secondary, and last year some of the normal activities that we do around that were just kind of impacted due to COVID-related pieces. And so this summer, when a grant opportunity came along that was really specific to social emotional needs for students with special needs, one of our social workers, and Kate Randall, who also serves as our district's ASD specialist, she applied for this grant and was awarded $8,600 to support the kind of rebuilding of elementary peer-to-peer supports. And so those dollars are allocated to training and facilitating those groups, as well as just coordinating some group events both in and outside of school. And again, note that the whole intent of that project is just to build peer supports on helping kids understand and learn about different disabilities and understand how we can come alongside our friends and support them in the classroom. So I'm just very appreciative to Kate and all of the staff who are taking on some extra responsibilities this year to make it happen.
Hello, Ryan Creek, principal at Baldwin Street Middle School. I think this is my first ever update to the board, so I'm looking forward to this. I even have notes. So a lot of the same things that have been shared by our elementary principals have been happening at Baldwin in terms of just excitement around seeing kids again this year. I know we still have a third of our students in mass, but seeing faces and being out in the hallways and having conversations with kids has been a true highlight this year as I've transitioned to that building. We have our parent-teacher conferences coming up next week, and we're looking forward to 2/3 of that time being in person and inviting our parents into the building to meet the teachers face-to-face. We're also in the process of forming a PTO group for Baldwin that hasn't been around for some time. And so we're in the process, our parents have rallied together to raise a significant amount of money to host conference dinners for our teachers, just so that they can feel recognized. So we're very grateful for all the partnerships that have happened. We've also implemented Fire Up Fridays at Baldwin, and probably the highlight of my week and Mrs. Hordisky's week is just going around with our boombox and celebrating students for positive behaviors and being awesome. We make it a quick stop in each student's classroom and have a little dance party, and we've been able to recognize, since we've started the SOAR tickets and the recognitions, 36 students so far this year for their behaviors. They get a picture taken and it's published in the weekly newsletters, and then we also post it in the building on our SOAR bulletin board. So really awesome highlights. Obviously winter sports are just underway at the middle school, and we've got our holiday concerts coming up the 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, so we're excited for that. And it's just been a really great start to the school year.
Good evening, Becky Van Someren at Early Childhood. So I would say that I have the best job around here because I work with the kiddos that show up first. I would echo a lot of the things that elementary shared, having parents being able to walk the halls and being around, looking forward to parent-teacher conferences next week. Those are all just amazing things again. I have shared over the last couple of years about our trunk or treat. The first 4 years did it indoors, and it was a walk through the building. Teachers decorated doors, and our kids had a safe and fun place to see their teachers dressed up in their Halloween gear and pass out candy. The last 2 years, because of COVID, and honestly, teachers are loving it, we've done it in our bus loop. We've decorated the backs of our cars, and kids start showing up at about 5:30 and walk around the bus loop. We had 16 cars this year. We had over 420 of our students and their families walk through the loop, and we made it before it got dark. It's just a beautiful thing. The kids love it. We had a staff in a blow-up dinosaur costume. It's just an opportunity for our kids to wear their costumes and show off their gear, and for our families to donate candy. So it is just a really, really big treat for us. So that is the one item I'm going to share tonight.
Andy Secor, principal at Jamestown Upper Elementary for a little while longer, at least. I just wanted to thank the hiring committee and also the school board. Our family has been in public education for the last 70 years, and I'm really excited to serve our community just in a different way than I have in the past. And I also know that there's some Jamestown parents here tonight, and I just wanted to thank them for the opportunity to work with you. In my 24 years in education, it's by far the best staff, best group of parents, best group of students I've been around. So as hard as this might be, telling kids tomorrow is what will be really the most challenging. So 2 things. First, in terms of Happy Veterans Day to people in our community. We have a veteran, Matt Leonard, who is our PE teacher, and it's pretty cool on a day like today between Jamestown Upper and Jamestown Lower just to see him treated like such a rock star. Our students go above and beyond just to see him, to recognize him, whether it's a 5th grader giving him a handshake or some of the funny lower L cards that he showed me from today. It's really a neat thing. And then last, our teachers put on a professional development opportunity for themselves called Learning Walks that just took place a couple of weeks ago. And although I would like to think that my staff meetings are somewhat interesting, they would tell you that this is probably the most beneficial learning that they do over the course of the year. They completely organize it on their own. It's free, which is also great. And so staff put a green card in their window if they're willing to have people observe their practice. And then on their prep time, teachers just walk around, and a 4th grade teacher can go see 3rd grade math, they can go see what it's like to teach PE, they can go to STEAM or art or music. And as I walked around that day, all 23 of our classrooms had a green card on there, which means nobody said you can't come into my room, which is a really honest and vulnerable way for people to be. And I know our teachers improved greatly just by seeing each other teach. So this is just a great way of our teachers going above and beyond.
So I have several things I'd like to share this evening. First, one of the primary responsibilities of the Curriculum Instruction Office is to ensure that teachers have what they need, both from a resource perspective and support perspective, to ensure that there's quality instruction happening in our classrooms every day. Our instructional coaches become a vital role, play a vital role in that. And similar to learning walks, our instructional coaches have had the opportunity with our middle school staff recently to conduct some learning labs, and just was reading through the feedback from the teachers and just some of the most valuable professional learning that teachers would say that they engage in. It's considered job-embedded professional learning. The research is clear that it has the most profound impact and change in instructional practices. So feel very encouraged. We've had to be very creative in regard to supporting teachers, because we know oftentimes professional learning happens with release time for teachers to engage in those ways, but we are unable to do that because we have a lack of subs, and we have to be very conscious of that, so we've had to be creative. Some of the creativity is also around meeting teachers during their planning time. They're asking for it from instructional coaches. our teachers just continue to go above and beyond to continue to grow and learn and support students in any ways that they can. We are also providing coaching cycles for new teachers, which is a process of meeting with teachers and identifying what goals they have for themselves to grow, and then providing opportunities for modeling and reflecting and talking about best instructional practices. And so our instructional coaches are supporting teachers, new teachers in that way at this time. And then finally, as you know, we moved to a one-to-one district from a technology perspective in the middle of the pandemic for some obvious reasons. And so we continue to try to get creative about how we can support teachers who are feeling that they have capacity to take on some more learning in the area of instructional technology. And so our instructional technology coordinator, Craig Steenstra, and our technology instructional coach, Sarah Woodring, they've also been doing make and takes, so those after school opportunities that are just kind of quick nugget size pieces of kind of what to do next from an instructional perspective, and have been getting great feedback about that as well. And then finally, a professional learning opportunity that we're beginning to prepare for. We have an early release the end of January, I believe it's Friday, January 28th, where we will once again offer a pre-K-12 professional learning opportunity called Eagle U. It's an opportunity for teachers to choose what they would like to learn about for the day. We also utilize our teachers and administrators to present that information. We know that in our classrooms and in our buildings we have profound knowledge and skill, and so it's really allowing those opportunities to have our teachers and administrators share what they know about best practice and really collaborate with each other. Teachers love it because they get to choose what they want to learn about for the day, so we're beginning to prepare for that as well. Finally, on Friday, a survey was sent to all of our stakeholders around ESSER funds that we have available to us and grant dollars that we will need to be making some decisions in the next month or so around how we should proceed. At about 6 o'clock this evening, I compiled the most up-to-date results. The survey closes tomorrow, but we have just over 1,400 responding at this time. The number one priority that we are hearing from stakeholders at this time is that they would like us to focus on using these financial resources that are really towards response to the COVID pandemic. But the number one priority that stakeholders are sharing are that they would like us to focus on staff to help accelerate learning and reduce learning gaps. That's the first priority. The second priority is to utilize these funds for social emotional support and training. Number 3 is ensure all students receive high quality instructional materials. And number 4 is adding instructional support for intervention or special education. Aside from the stakeholder survey, I've also started meeting with groups of teachers and administrators and counselors, and those small group meetings to get feedback about what interventions, what resources do our students need, and how can we respond to meet their needs? What is the data that we need to look at to say this identifies a clear need and a program that's best practice or evidence-based that we can align with meeting that particular student need. Those meetings will continue already with existing meetings. So again, that stakeholder feedback will continue to drive a lot of the dialogue and the decisions about how these funds, how we apply for these grant funds. And I'm so thankful that I will be having a partner in this really critical, important work as we move forward.
Josh Mearsma, principal at Bauer Elementary. Happy Veterans Day. At Bauer this year, something special happened this summer. We purchased through HEF grant funds and support of our Bauer Parent Club sensory pathways. We have 2 identical pathways. They're laid out slightly differently due to space. And these pathways are high quality vinyl stickers, and then they're waxed to make sure that they last. They allow students to have movement within the building in an appropriate way. I want to thank Larry Duzma, our custodian, Sandy Rulofs, and Tammy Tans for coming in July and helping to do that, laying it out, waxing it, and so on. Our fall walkathon this year was exceptional. We exceeded our earnings from last year. It was the highest year yet. And I was in a dunk tank for that, and it was a lot of fun. As you can imagine, students love the opportunity to take advantage of their principal, and then because the dunk tank was on site, I sent out a quick thing to teachers, hey, throw the money in the pot for the office fund. We can buy coffee and bagels, get a chance to dunk me. So the kids and the teachers came out, and the teachers and staff took their turn, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But we were fortunate to have good weather. And then a huge shout out to teachers with all that's going on with COVID and students in quarantine. Yes, teachers show up every day and teach, and it's not just as easy as carbon copying something that you've done in class and shipping it off to the students, because students are at different levels. And so our teachers put in great thought and time and care to prepare materials for families who are in quarantine, and that's extra work on them, and they're happy to do it. But a huge shout out to them for doing it so well. So, as Mark mentioned, we had also rebooted Watchdogs this year. We had a great turnout. We had a parent meeting on Monday night at Blendon Township Fire Department, and we had begun Watchdogs 3 weeks prior to the COVID shutdown in March, and it was fantastic, and it was bittersweet to see that go away, and we're excited to bring that back and get the dads into the buildings for the same reasons that Mark mentioned. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Ross, principal at Riley Street Middle School. I want to thank the board and the parents at Riley Street Middle School for the opportunity to serve as the principal. There's my 14th year being there, and I love every day that I get to go there. I want to also just acknowledge our kids, especially our 6th graders, which has just been a challenging year for them to come to a new school and have to look different than the 7th and 8th graders that are in that building. They have persevered. They've been able to build culture and community, and I'm just really proud of the 225 6th graders at our building. Another group of students I'm very proud of is our Renaissance Student Council group. They led an effort in our building to bring in socks, and something as simple as a pair of socks that we all think of, but to a rescue mission in Holland that's well needed. We were able to drop off over 3,000 pairs of socks last week to the Holland Rescue Mission, just based upon the efforts of our students. And lastly, just want to thank the congregation at Jamestown Harbor Church. They are our hand-to-hand partner. We have kids that go home with food every weekend. We are fortunate and blessed to have them in our school community. So thank you to Jamestown Harbor Church.
John Gillette, principal at Forest Grove. 2 things I'd like to highlight and then 1 small request. So we'll start with the highlight. It wasn't quite a year ago that we finished up our brand spanking new parking lot, and you just voted to give us a gym. So man, I'm super fired up about that. I've been super involved with all the planning for that. It's gonna be awesome. My small request comes from my 5th grade girl table where they all congregate together to sit, and they said, hey, what are we gonna do with the old gym? Can we get a giant hot tub? So if I can make a motion for you to have a first reading on that, we could draw some pictures, do some schematics, and I'm sure that could fit into the budget someplace. And you'd all be welcome to come anytime you want to. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking good care of us down in the south part of the district. We appreciate that very much. Another highlight is the buildings are great, but obviously it's the people that we fill them up with are what matters, you know, and that's what makes things exceptional. And I've heard it over and over again. The thing I'd just like to highlight to you is my staff is amazing, and they continually go above and beyond to do all the things that have been mentioned here. We're preparing for parent-teacher conferences. A huge group of us met this morning before school to just be together, to connect, to laugh a little bit, to prepare for becoming better instructors, to help problem solve. Kids stuff that happens all day long, and they're rocking it. We're covering for each other, and I'm just so proud to work with the people that I work with and to be the principal at Forest Grove Elementary School. So thanks for the opportunity that I have for that.
Thanks, John. Looking forward to that hot tub. Jordan Beal here, principal at the high school, and there's an awful lot that I could go into, but since I'm last, I'll try to be brief. We just won the regional championship in volleyball right down the hallway. And won 3 straight. Really proud of those young ladies. They work really hard and they're really fun to watch. As you heard, I think earlier, that's why I came in a little late. I did catch the first game, so thank you for that. I think you may have heard from Annie about it being exam week. That seems to be the big thing to share because we haven't had exams in a very long time. So if you're a current junior, for example, you haven't had an exam since second trimester of your freshman year. So it's been a while since we've had final exams to end a term. So students definitely have been busy, and teachers as well, studying and preparing for those finals. But something Dr. Vanderjack mentioned regarding contact tracing and being very busy still with all of that, I wanted to highlight just a thanks for our support staff, our administrative assistants in our offices, because they're the ones that really have been hit hard by that as well, and helping to manage and contact and do all of those things for us. So I really appreciate our staff in the main offices. The last couple things, you know, we could go on about winter sports are starting up as our fall season is ended, but we're also going to have a fall play. We haven't had one of those in a couple of years. It'll be right here in this auditorium. It's going to be 12th night, a Shakespeare play, and Mrs. Pearson and the students have been working hard on that. You can probably see out there in the wings some props that were pushed off to the side for this meeting. So that's going to be next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're excited for that. And then I think another thing I'd like to highlight, I guess, that since sports and things often get a lot, we were able to, Dr. Vanderjack and Mr. Hall and I were able to participate this morning in an end of trimester sort of exams situation for AP government students. And for the better part of the entire morning, we listened as kind of the We the People competition preparation is like a faux simulation congressional hearing regarding the framers of the Constitution, and a lot of Federalist and anti-Federalist questions, and really seeing our AP government students shine was something that was really energizing today. So the hard work of our teachers really pays off, and seeing our students shine academically was a real treat this morning. I hope you both agree. But that's pretty much it for the high school for now. So thanks everyone, and fire up, go Eagles.
So last but not least, is it back on? Yes. It is definitely the month to be thankful, right? So we've talked a lot about what's going on in the transportation department, but in particular, you know, the drivers, the dispatchers, mechanics, and their director have just been doing incredible things for students this year. I'd like to also draw a spotlight back to the custodians. They have just cleaned it's incredible what they've done. But in addition to that, they've also had our full-time custodians have led students. As part of the special Hudsonville story, the amount of student workers we have here in the evenings, it is amazing. A lot of kids go to college, they work through high school, go to college, and stay right here with their parents, and we'd love to have them clean the school. Some of them are going to be teachers, some of them are going to be engineers. It's a great thing about Hudsonville. But those day custodians and night custodians, it's a little extra work to lead students. They don't always come in really ready to go, but they get there. They don't want to let Hudsonville down. They don't want to embarrass their family, and it's amazing. But I would also like to really call a focus back to what our principals do. Ann's talked about it a number of times. They're on the front lines along with their administrative assistants. We would not have been able to be in person, certainly, without their work. And then to call back to last year, there was a lot of time during the summer when a lot of schools didn't know, especially in Ottawa County, Kent County, and they were going to be in person. And just Dr. Vanderjack, just day after day, he pushed us for being in school, and just his leadership. I'd like to thank him for his leadership in Hudsonville, but also for his leadership around the county. I was around the corner in some of the meetings, and there were a lot of superintendents who just didn't know if they could keep going in person. And Hudsonville was in person for every day we possibly could have been in session for. And I'd like to thank him for his leadership on that. So Thanks, Doug, and just like to also thank our veterans. So thanks for that, and turn it back over to.
Okay, we've got everybody. Really good updates. It has been, this is our practice. It has been a few months since we've had updates, especially from the principals. So it is always great and rewarding and insightful to hear what's going on in the elementary buildings, especially all the buildings, but the elementary buildings especially, I'll say that. And because so much is happening there, so much great work, and so thank you. Great updates, we really appreciate it. Really appreciate the updates and the information, so. Excellent, okay, next report item is superintendent report.
Thank you. So, Keith, you're off the hook. I know you're sitting there and people think, we want an update from that guy. Keith is our auditorium director. So Keith, thank you for being at all these meetings to helping it run smoothly. We do appreciate that. And that mic, you can actually pass behind you 2 rows because I think they're gonna need it in just a second. So, part of my first update tonight is I'd like to share with the board, I already mentioned tomorrow we're sending a letter out to parents. In that letter references frequently asked question document that we've prepared regarding the social emotional learning curriculum, specifically ruler. So we have about 5 pages worth of questions and answers that have been asked, and we wanted to provide some answers to those that are in question. So we're going to post those online. I do want to thank Mrs. Thomas, Mrs. Taylor, several members of the curriculum staff, several of our principals that helped draft this document. We think that it gives a nice answers to a lot of the questions people have. Hopefully it answers plenty of questions. But we also encourage parents that do have additional questions, reach out to your the teacher of your child's teacher and or the building principal to seek clarification if they have questions on that. We've had about probably just under 30 parents that have wanted to stop in and look at the curriculum. And I think almost all except maybe one had additional questions that said, this looks good, we've been doing this for years. Just for clarification, we've talked about the impact that this has had in the classroom, and some people ask about the time. I will tell you, in my teaching days, we spent a lot of time doing this on a daily basis in the classroom, and now it's organized. So now it's common language, and kids are having common dialogue about what this looks like. So I have a copy in front of you. If you could look at it, that'd be great. Take a look. If you have questions, please let me know. We plan on sending this out to parents and posting it tomorrow so parents get a chance to look at it. I would like to ask maybe Mrs. Taylor or Mrs. Thomas if you can maybe address a couple of the FAQs out there so that we can just get a taste for what this looks like.
Sure, I think both of us would just like to highlight a couple questions. So one that has come across is just why does the school feel it's necessary to teach students these skills, and isn't this a parent's job? So the directed response looks at that children do begin their social emotional development at home, and we know that parents nurture those skills over the course of a student's lifetime. As a school, we hope to continue to support these skills, specifically as they're connected to a student's experience at school. We know that social emotional learning is intended to build a safe and caring learning environment and to provide all students with a common language and skills that they will need to be successful in the classroom and beyond. I apologize for reading this to you. This is on the first page, the bottom question. But school's primary function is to teach academics, but until students feel emotionally safe, learning can be challenging. And I think just to make a connection to something that was shared in a prior session is that specific to the ruler curriculum, it is not teaching values, but rather it's aimed to address the skills related to recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions. The second question that I just thought I would highlight, and this is on the second page, is that does the ruler curriculum have ties to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? First I'll read this and then maybe just add a comment here. So the ruler curriculum does not have direct ties to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, but it does contain lessons on helping all students feel included and to encourage a sense of belonging in our classrooms and buildings. No student should feel unwelcome for any reason. Parents are welcomed and encouraged to review the curriculum by requesting an opportunity to see and discuss the lessons with their child's building elementary principal. I think the only thing that I would add to that is just that the skill set and the concept of perspective taking is also a theme that you'll see between social emotional learning and just the broader concept of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, just that the skill of being able to see and understand the perspective of another does relate to social emotional awareness, and it also relates to conflict resolution. So there is that area where those concepts overlap. So those are the two questions I thought I'd highlight, and I'll pass it to Amy.
One of the questions that I thought I would highlight is, why is the district piloting the ruler curriculum in grades pre-K through 5? The pilot is really meant to evaluate the use of the ruler curriculum. In November of 2020, there was a committee of administrators and teachers who reviewed 8 various curriculums and used an extensive rubric to determine which particular curriculum we would work to pilot. Certainly during that time, we were providing updates to the board as we went along as well. So the pilot is really to evaluate the use of the ruler curriculum to assist in the development of student skills in the areas of self-awareness, social awareness, self-management skills, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. The development of those skills correlate with the Michigan Department of Education's competencies for social emotional learning, and so we know that that continues to be an area of focus, and even just the survey data from our stakeholders continue to validate some of the work around social emotional learning. Again, that was the #2 priority of stakeholders, and how they wish that we would use ESSER funds is to support students in those ways. The second question that I thought I would highlight, you can find on page 4, and it is, how is this curriculum going to aid our children to prepare them for life outside of school? Certainly, research supports the correlation between the consistent implementation of social emotional learning instruction and positive outcomes for students in the area of social emotional wellness, academic performance, school behaviors, and attitudes towards self and others. So students who really understand themselves and others are much more prepared for their future. So certainly academics will continue to be a priority for us, but as we've discussed previously, and research is very clear on, that social emotional learning support really allows students that level playing field of access for their brains to even access the learning that happens in our classrooms each day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So that document will go out. We'll get that out there. If you have questions, please let me know. I do want to thank Mrs. Taylor and their team. We sent a survey out, a school climate survey, probably about a month ago, and we inquired what parents might want to be involved in conversations regarding diversity and advocacy in the district. We had about 280 parents, I think it was, expressed an interest. We sent a follow-up survey to them. We had about just under 100 that filled out the follow-up survey, so you can imagine it's taken us a little bit of time to get that data down to a manageable number. So we're still working through that. We hope to reach out to those people that expressed an interest. Hopefully next week, that's our plan. But that's the idea of trying to make sure that's a well-representation of our community, to make sure that it's a well-balanced group of people that we can start having dialogue on what the future looks like here in Hudsonville. I do want to thank Mrs. Armstrong and the Human Resources Department. We talked about a public relations person, so they can help work in the district and have conversations about all the great things that are going on in the district. We had final interviews with a couple of candidates last Tuesday. I'm looking at Mr. Davis, he was there. I think it was Tuesday. Thank you. And we hope to make a recommendation to the board at the next board meeting. 2 very qualified candidates with different experiences, different people, but they're exciting. So that'll be at the next board meeting. I do want to make one quick clarification about masks. I should have said this earlier. All the conversation about masks are in the classroom. It does not change the mask requirements on buses. That is a federal requirement. We hope that is done soon also. But I just want to reiterate that buses, you're still required to wear masks on buses regardless of age, going from there. This past Wednesday, I had a chance to serve as a panelist for 100 Grand Valley teachers that are just about ready to graduate either in the winter or spring and I made it crystal clear that Hudsonville is the place to work. So Mrs. Armstrong, I think we have 99-ish brand new teachers that are fired up to sub in our district. So just very exciting that there's a large group graduating. I think we're going to see more and more people going into public education because it is still the most rewarding profession that I can ever think of doing. Being a classroom teacher, spending time with kids from an administrative standpoint, it is a highlight. When you see kids in the hallway, like this morning when we're here for We the People, I think I can speak on behalf of Mr. Hall and Mr. Beal. Just to see these kids in action, we have a great future ahead of us. So good kids. One other thing, I did talk a little bit about masks and the mandate. We do have vaccinations that are now available for ages 5 through 11. We are not hosting any clinics in Hudsonville Public Schools. We are posting online that if people are interested, they're definitely welcome to talk to their healthcare provider. They're definitely welcome to look at Ottawa County Health Department if they're looking for avenues to get that. That is definitely a family decision. I do not anticipate, people are starting to ask, are you going to require vaccines? We have not had conversations like that at the county level when it comes to superintendents. I know other districts are starting to have conversations. We are not. We fully anticipate that will continue to be a family decision with your healthcare provider to make those decisions. Once again, congratulations to Mr. Secor. We will be posting his job shortly, and I don't mean in the next half an hour, but I mean soon, so that we can start to see what that looks like. We'll keep the board posted on the direction that takes place when it comes to his replacement and what that timing looks like. And we'll definitely be including his staff members, other administrators that you can see down here, as well as just getting board input and see what that looks like moving forward. And last but not least, I do want to thank our veterans for their service to our country, both past and present. We recognize this day, but we do not recognize the sacrifice that they have made for our country. So I want to thank them personally. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, that's any questions or comments from the board on the update items? Okay, next section is public comment. So Robin has the names. She'll read those names off.
Okay.
And yes, I'm sorry, Mark. Yes.
I just want to make a comment before the public, if you can hear me out there. We had a training session a few days ago on the Open Meetings Act, and I know one of the questions that was asked was about committees being open to the public. And I've had some discussion with Ken about that. We talked about maybe bringing that question before the board this evening, but having 2 board members absent, we weren't going to do that tonight. So that'll be a discussion at our meeting on the 29th of this month. So I just wanted you to be aware we are thinking about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Davis, for highlighting that. More to come on that. Okay, so again, open public comment period, and again, Robin will call the names of folks coming up. We ask you to approach the podium. Comments are to be kept to 3 minutes, please, and again, just state your name, and we'll open that up now as soon as we have the timer going. Okay. All right, so Robin, go ahead.
Is Ivy Santelli.
My name is Ivy Santellin. I'm 10 years old, and tonight I would like to talk to you guys about what you're letting happen in classrooms around this district. Do you know that South Elementary, a 3rd grade teacher told her class that they should all get the COVID vaccine by Christmas, and that her own child got it and is just fine? My question is, when did it become the teacher's job to give out medical advice to 3rd graders? In the high school and middle schools, you have teachers discussing abortion, having BLM and Pride stuff in the classroom, and you have elementary teachers wearing Pride shirts. I've also heard from friends who have siblings in high school that there are students called furries that identify as different animals. Are you all really okay with this? Do you know this is going on? Like, this is in all grades at most of the schools. Why? Why are you just continuing to let stuff like this happen? Are you okay with the teachers talking about medical decisions? Honestly, I'd do something about this. This is not right, and you have to know that even if you don't want to admit it. Hudsonville Schools has become a place where many families no longer feel safe sending their kids. I know so many families like mine who have pulled their kids from this district or that are making plans to. I also know many that want to but aren't able to. Like I said last time I spoke, I'm fighting for those who can't homeschool or don't want to pull their kids because of their friendships. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get back our God-given rights no matter what it takes. Whether that be keep speaking at these board meetings or to actually speak my mind to bigger crowds in the future. Today is Veterans Day, a day that we honor all who serve in the military to protect their freedoms. The same freedoms that our current government is trying to take from us and you're all going along with. I will fight to the very end, even if it takes 50 or more years. I will stand and fight. The Constitution still exists, and that document is exactly the opposite of what you're trying to do in the schools. Dr. Vanderjack, it's time to step up and do your job. You're supposed to be our voice, and saying that you have your hands tied is cowardly. Unmask the kids, stop pushing an agenda, keep politics and personal beliefs out of the classrooms, and let's make Hudsonville a place to be proud of again. We don't need SEL, we need God back in our schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Stacy Lang Street.
Can you say that again, Riley?
Sure. Stacy Lang Street.
She wasn't sure if she said.
Okay.
Mindy Vanden Heuvel.
Good evening, board members. I would like to thank you, first of all, for not hosting any vaccine clinics. I truly appreciate that, and I know our community appreciates that. That is a decision that should be personal and medical and made away from our public school system. Our vaccines are something that needs to not become a topic of discussion here. As she previously said, students should not feel pressured from their teachers, from administration, from other students. It should not be a topic at school. We need to return Hudsonville Public School to neutral education. We should not be allowing teachers to talk about abortion. We should not be allowing teachers to allow pride shirts and not allow religious shirts, to not allow patriotic shirts. I know on Halloween that kids were completely decked out in their pride colors, which is fine, but then to not allow other children their respective thoughts on either religion or a flag or anything else is not fair. You can't do that. That's not what we're here for. We're here for neutrality. We're here for transparency, and none of that is happening. We need to do better. Hudsonville Public has gone downhill the last couple of years. We've gotten a new administration, and that's when the decline started. I happened to run into a 2017 graduate who still has siblings here all through high school, middle school, and elementary, and she is terrified for them and saddened at what high school and everything else has become here. We have children in middle school and high school in these book clubs reading about sodomy, rape, and using four-letter words that should not be in any book in any classroom. And when it's brought up to teachers, they say, I don't need to read every book in my classroom, which is ridiculous. You should. If you have a book on your shelf, you should have read it all the way through. You need to vet everything. And if you don't want to do it, give it to a parent club. There are thousands of parents out here willing to read every single book. We should not have that. It is not a choice. Someone does not need to feel comfortable reading some sort of book in English class. You are there to learn about English. I don't care about your feelings. I don't know or care if you like Johnny Tremaine or Huckleberry Finn or Les Mis. You're there to learn about English. You're not there to discuss your feelings and how the book makes you feel. We're here to teach. We need to focus on academics, or we're going to end up with more incidents like the high school, where we have kids pooping in other children's drinks. That is not okay. Bullying is not okay. We need discipline back in our schools. We need children to respect the adults that are here and they do not. It starts at home, and the home is falling apart. But when it comes to school, you need to stand up and make these decisions. You need to discipline students for negative behaviors and continue the positive reinforcements. But you need to do more.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Robin.
Leah Ferguson.
I'm sorry?
Leah Ferguson.
Leah Herbison. President Hall, there has been a lack of honesty, transparency, and communication by this board and the superintendent over the last 6 months. Unfortunately, this is mostly due to obvious attempts to hide the work related to Julian Newman and DEIB. I will outline some of the issues. So in May, Dr. Vanderjack used the parent survey to justify the DEIB goal. That was not completely truthful, and he admitted that later on. Also, a parent was told by Dr. Vanderjack that committees were only for board members and the administrators, not truthful. He provided no transparency and communication about the DEIB committee that we know now had parents on it. In June, Dr. Vanderjack said publicly that he was considering a pause to reevaluate the work of Mr. Newman and DEIB. He was also negotiating a contract at the same time with Mr. Newman for the upcoming school year. For some reason, this important truth to the story was left out of the superintendent's comments. In August, President Hall, you attempted to discuss the professional learning in closed session. You were unsuccessful with a vote, but it's clear you did not want the public to hear the discussion about DEIB. Then the public records obtained via FOIA came out. So first, there was actual materials that existed about what Mr. Newman was teaching, but yet Dr. Vanderjack refused to share this information with the parents that were asking. So now we've spent $40,500 of taxpayer money to give Mr. Newman the ability to run an exercise that allowed only DEIB committee parents and students to share their thoughts about Hudsonville, describing this community in part as white, ignorant, uneducated, and racist. In September, an SEL presentation was given and many of us learned about Ruler for the first time. This was 20 days after it was already being used in the classroom. This was without any vetting of the program by this full board or other options provided to the full board for review and deliberation, and without any comment by the public. Is this the proper process for implementing student curriculum? In October, we learned during the open meetings workshop that board committees should be open to the public and allow for public comment. I've asked to attend the curriculum committee meetings, knowing they met with Julian and knew far more about the DEIB and SEL than the rest of the board. Is a committee empowered to make decisions without public participation a violation of OMA? Dr. Vanderjack's DEIB plan with Mr. Newman elevated the hopes and dreams of only certain parents and students in this district, not all. The other parents had to pay to find the truth, and while it was the FOIA records that finally got this board to act and stop utilizing Mr. Newman, I wonder if it was because you actually care about all voices or because you got caught. Unfortunately, it is now difficult to trust this district about the diversity and advocacy work or Ruler. To move forward, we need accountability to restore the health of the district.
Thank you for your comments.
Keith Lyon Decker.
Thank you. I just want to commend the district on the efforts that they have made to make this as normal as they can for kids with the COVID. Anytime we get a chance to choose kids over the nth degree of COVID protocols, I commend the district to do that. Unfortunately, there was a time when that wasn't always the case. One in particular was brought up today. A lot of kids rely on the buses, in particular our disadvantaged kids. And this district went out of our way to fire lots of our bus drivers because they wanted to go to the nth degree on COVID rules. And I wish that we had taken the opportunity to fight for our kids and instead of fighting to fire bus drivers. And now we're in a hole for it, and the kids paid the price, right? Not the bus drivers, the kids. And I wish we had done that differently. The other question I have is that Ruler is now an admitted curriculum. Sometimes we fight about what curriculum is or isn't. And it's not a pilot program, right? When you roll it out from K through 5 in your entire district, it's hard to say that's a pilot. You know, maybe one school would be a pilot. So from a process standpoint, how is it that curriculum got put into our schools, replacing teaching time, and has not been approved by this board? Is that because the administration doesn't know the rules on how to get curriculum in the schools? Or is it because they do not respect the authority of this board? The board members themselves, these parents. Maybe next board meeting we can figure out why ruler is in the schools without having been fully approved by this board. It's a minute curriculum. It's almost half our kids. How did this get in our schools? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next one.
McGaffey.
Alden McAfee. Sunday, October 31st, 2001, while most families and children were out trick-or-treating for Halloween, someone from HPS posted a work session at 7:30 p.m. for the following evening. That might have done automatically, but whoever gave that direction to post it at that time, which we now understand is legal, yet, in my opinion, unethical, they should be ashamed of themselves. That proved to me that you don't want us here. You don't respect us, you don't want us involved, you don't want to give us the information, you don't want us standing up for what is morally and ethically right. You want us to sit down and shut up. But I'm here to tell you that that's not going to happen. Every day we're gaining traction by opening minds, sharing ideas and stories, and getting information out to others. You didn't want us at the last workshop, and it's obvious why. Because you broke the rules, and now we all know it, and it's added to our list of misconducts. It's a shame you're not willing to work together with us to better our school system and education of our children. We don't want to be in this battle with a school board of our own school district. We want to work together. There are a lot of bright minds in this audience with big hearts and willingness to work together for the greater good. I suggest you start listening to them. You sent out a survey about what to do with the extra money from the government. I say you don't accept it. In my opinion, that's blood money. That money would be delivered with stipulations and expectations that are not in the best interest of our children. So please stop using our children as dollars, start listening and respecting the voices of this community, and stand up for what is right. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for your comment.
Next up is Amy Sutherland.
I'm sorry, Robin.
Amy Sutherland.
Hello, my name is Amy. I also want to thank you very much for not bringing a vaccine clinic here. That's really great. I am actually speaking on behalf tonight of a very dear friend who is a Hudsonville parent. She's unable to speak tonight because of the fact that every time she speaks and says something, her child receives harassment if she does at school. This in itself is really concerning. She has 4 kids in the district. Both of her elementary kids came home this past Monday. They seemed very concerned as they were told that they were talked to about vaccines at school that day. And that shouldn't be happening. Her son told her that his substitute teacher brought up the vaccine to the class and told them it was available for them now, that her son already received it and only had a sore arm and was fine. This substitute teacher is not only a substitute teacher, but from what my friend tells me, that she also does other things for the school, so it's worth looking into. Another student then tells the class that he's getting it next week. It's completely inappropriate for there to be open discussion in the classroom about how each child, or rather their parents, are going to handle their medical decisions. So thank you again for not having the vaccine clinic here. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Robin.
June Mattice.
Hi, I'm I'm June. I am the parent of, my 6th child is a junior. The previous 5 graduated from Hudsonville. My question is about school choice in schools of choice in the sense of what happened in Virginia where a student was moved to another school and attacked another student. And I wondered what knowledge the school district has when a student wants to attend Hudsonville from another district. Are you aware of any things that might have happened that made them leave their previous school? Do we have any ability to stop a student who has either a criminal conviction or investigation going on to protect our students? I've looked through the school board policies and I haven't found anything about that. So I would be interested in knowing that. Then you all know why. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Aaron Doobie.
Greetings, board members. It's an absolute pleasure this evening to hear from all of you back here. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. I know nothing right now is easy. That is especially so for you guys, so thank you so much. And both teachers and board, I also had the privilege to be able to go to the Hudsonville Educational Foundation and saw some of you there. It was a wonderful time, and I want to make sure to point out all of those people in that room were there to celebrate our schools and what an amazing job all of our admins and teachers and you all are doing. So I want to encourage you to, of course, listen to all of your constituents, hear our voices, hear everyone's voices in this room, as you do. But keep in mind that there are so many more people out there that believe in what we're doing, in what you're doing, and what all of you are doing, and think you are all doing an amazing job. So to all the board members, admins, teachers, everyone, thank you so much for making and keeping Hudsonville an amazing place. There are tons of people out there who agree and would say the same thing to you. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Jennifer Adams.
I also want to thank all the teachers and principals and bus drivers who are doing an excellent job. I never thought I would speak at a school board meeting. I never wanted to be here doing this. But as you saw with the results in Virginia, right now everyone knows that parents absolutely should have a right to what their children are taught in school. I appreciate very much that you're not doing vaccine clinics at schools. I appreciate that you are letting parents make the decisions on masks once the health mandate is over, and I hope you will continue to let parents make the decision. There's a lot of things that have happened. I know that when I was at a July school board meeting, I saw the high school principal making faces when people in the public were talking. I think that is unacceptable. I know that some of the teachers in the high school over the summer had posters up about certain political organizations and things that they say that are just inappropriate. I'm not a political person even. I never wanted to be involved in politics, and our children shouldn't be either. When I went to school, I had no idea how my neighbors felt, how my teachers felt. None of our children should have to feel that way either and be told that they need to get a vaccine by their teachers. This is just inappropriate. And my daughter is here with me tonight. She hates wearing a mask. She doesn't understand why she has to wear one for the Christmas program. She played basketball all year and she didn't have to wear one there. There was a skating party that the school had and no one wore them there. The Christmas program is not even at the school, so I don't think that it falls under the health mandate. But the kids are out in the community, they're not wearing masks. So we need to think about these things and we need to start putting these children first. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next up is Kate Ritzma.
Kate
Ritzma.
Just quick, I was going to speak
also like to ask how ruler is in our schools. I reviewed the curriculum, the pre-K stuff, pretty innocent in my mind. The first grade stuff, there are some things that I'm concerned about, but I don't understand the process of how ruler got into our schools if the whole entire board was presented it the night that us parents were presented it as well. And I also would like to know, we're supposed to, after every unit, I believe, get a piece of paper sent home with our students to talk about what that unit was and little questions that we can go through with our child. Today, November 11th, I received my first parent worksheet home with my daughter today. They're on Unit 5. I have not received any other ones. So I'm just questioning where all of this is going, why is it still in our school, and if we can maybe take a pause on it before the entire board can actually vote on it. And I also was informed that there is a ruler parent committee. Wondering where all of these committees come from actually, because I don't understand how parents were on the DEIB committee, but the majority of the community was not informed that there was a parent committee. So what voices are you listening to start these committees? And who started and who's in the ruler committee for the parents? Like, hello, I have asked multiple times to be involved in the school. I would love to sit in on one of these committees. I'm here, I'm willing to help, but it kind of falls on deaf ears, it seems. I would like you to all maybe think about what you can do differently and what other programs you can maybe present to the board before it gets brought into our schools. Thank you.
Robin Byers.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Robin Byers. I've been attending board and planning meetings since last fall, and I've listened and learned as parents have spoken out about the same issues that concern me. And just in case you think that maybe just the same handful of people step up and speak each time and that they're just the minority, I'll tell you it is absolutely not true. I'm just one of many. I decided just to speak tonight. Parents in this district are educated, we research, we ask questions, and I could stand here and go over 100 reasons why I'm against the ruler curriculum that you're piloting, but I know you've heard them. I do believe that when you start at kindergarten to 5th grade, it's probably going to look very innocent, but I have very strong concerns about where it goes from there. I know that we have all good hearts, so I'm going to try to talk directly to yours. Our world has changed drastically, and I know we're all fully aware of it, and I'm asking you to look at the bigger picture. I'd like to ask a sincere question. After everything that's happened over the last 2 years, do you really not see a bigger agenda at play here? Are any of you truly concerned about the direction this country's going? Do you think that schools aren't playing a very big part in that? Have you ever studied communism? Have you ever studied Karl Marx or socialism? I sincerely ask you to. If you've ever studied this subject, you'll know that the way they achieve it is to slowly infiltrate every aspect of society, start with the children, speak flowery of its benefits in such a way that anyone who speaks against it would be thought of as uncaring or evil people. Does that sound familiar? Your ruler curriculum, while on the surface sounds very positive, it's on a road to just that when you look at it deeper. School board, you didn't initially dig deep into Julia Newman until parents who did actually do the digging showed you their concerns. I'm asking you now to dig deeper into this curriculum before continuing, because we parents have. Do you honestly think parents all over this country speaking out against their school boards are just crazy, blowing things out of proportion, or worse, decided to become terrorists? Are you thinking with your egos when you hear parents? It's not just in this district, but every district in the country speaking out against these curriculums, whatever name you want to give it. I recently sat at a meeting and listened to 2 people represent the curriculum, speak straight to you, and literally say the words to all of you, these are the children we're trying to raise. It's no wonder that all parents all over the country are pulling their kids out of public schools
These are our children to raise, not yours. You may have gotten used to thinking we're parenting with us, but I'm telling you it's not your place, and ruler is a huge overstep. Look around you, look beyond this ruler issue. Something seriously wrong with our country, and dividing and conquering is the goal.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Robin?
Hello, my name is Ashley Hartman. My daughter is in first grade at Allward. At the October board meeting, we watched a presentation about the ruler approach and heard from some faculty members that spoke highly of the program. That was immediately followed by comments from concerned parents who contradicted the rave reviews and statements from faculty. I left that meeting very concerned, which led me to do some of my own research. On the website, rulerapproach.org, there is a section, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. On that page, it states, Ruler is an on-ramp to work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anti-racism, as it focuses on the development of the skills and language necessary to have conversations around those topics and achieve equitable practices. Under the Continuous Improvement Plan section, there is a link to Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence, where it states, we are also engaged in center-wide learning of the Quant-Quit paradigm, a model of examining quantitative methods through critical race theory for research among other professional learning. Statements like these connecting the ruler approach to DEI and CRT are very concerning. On Tuesday evening, I attended the PTC meeting at Allward, where the PBIS specialist and the principal discussed the SEL curriculum and the ruler approach. They discussed how the program is being used as a tool to discuss behavioral issues amongst students. In some cases, a student might have some personal challenges that impact their behavior. I completely understand the need to address these types of situations as they have the potential to impact the student's ability to learn and concentrate. However, I believe there is a fine line on what should be addressed by a teacher in an academic setting. It seems to me that students with those types of challenges should seek advice from a licensed and trained therapist or guidance counselor made available to that student at school, not a teacher who is following the curriculum from a program all the while trying to teach basic academics to a classroom of 20+ students. Schools have always been a place where students come to learn subjects like reading, writing, and math. Parents partner with teachers to support the learning of academics. Parents have been the emotional nurturing support for their children. Teaching topics involving SEL using programs like Ruler is now stepping on that line. I want to teach my daughter about social and emotional topics in a way that aligns with our beliefs and ultimately the Word of God. I don't want her being taught these delicate and sensitive topics in a classroom setting by teachers who already have their plates full teaching basic academics. Over the past several months, the various issues and concerns revolved around HBS have weighed heavily on my heart. After a lot of thought and prayer, my husband and I have decided that this will be our daughter's last year at HPS. She will be attending Hudsonville Christian next year. Ultimately, I can no longer send my daughter to school every day, questioning what she is being taught. At 6 years old, she isn't always able to verbalize every topic or discussion she is learning in school. The Lord has blessed me with my daughter, and as her mother, it is my job to protect her.
Lisa Bosch.
Before I begin, I will be discussing some adult content. If anybody has young ears in the room, it might be a good time for a potty break or to plug your ears. My name is Lisa Bosch. My husband and I are both graduates of Hudsonville High School. We currently have 3 children attending high school here. I am speaking because I want to make you aware of some disturbing content in our classroom. I once trusted Hudsonville with content in our classrooms, but that has sadly been broken over the years. The book, The Kite Runner, is currently being read in a group study by sophomores, 15-year-olds and 16-year-old minors. And I'll read from page 75 now of a boy being sodomized. Fine, Asaph snapped. All I want you weaklings to do is hold him down. Can you imagine that? Wally and Kamal nodded. They looked relieved. Asaph knelt behind Hassan, put his hands on Hassan's hips, and lifted his bare buttocks. He kept one hand on Hassan's back and undid his own belt buckle with his free hand. He unzipped his jeans, dropped his underwear, and he positioned himself behind Hassan. Hassan didn't struggle, didn't even whimper. He was violently raped by sodomy. In an earlier chapter, the main character witnesses the rape of a friend and hears, I quote, the rhythmic grunting coming from the alley, and also the blood stain on the seat of his friend's pants, and the dripping of blood down the pant leg. Later in the book, the same rapist now is a grown adult. He dresses a young boy, child, in girl clothes and makeup and has him dance, and then fondles the child in front of an adult. I brought this to the teacher and to our principal's attention. They both are familiar with the book, the principal's read it, and say this is why we have parental consent. Beale stated that the book is very dark, but teaches students about Afghanistan, war, brutality, and that we don't want to over-censor our students. I asked, where does Hudsonville draw the line for appropriate content? It is one thing for teenagers to be aware that the evil exists. It's another to read it in detail from their school classroom. My son's classmates are currently right now reading in a group study this violent sodomy, gang rape, and pedophilia. I am grateful for the consent forms, but parents only receive the book title and an author, and we have to do the research and digging. I have used blind trust for many books in the past. In the conversation with Principal Beale, I mentioned that at the very least, the parents need to be notified of adult content or where to find reviews, and I'm thankful he's looking into that idea, because I wonder how many parents would have signed the consent if they knew all the details I just read. Would you sign off on this book for your child or your grandchild to read? Hudsonville should not. By continuing to lower the standards, they are failing and desensitizing these kids.
Thank you for
We
your
need to do better.
comments. Thank you.
Jennifer Daughtery.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Doherty. I want to start out by thanking you for hosting the work session to discuss the Open Meetings Act. It's a real shame that the meeting wasn't posted publicly until 18 hours before it was scheduled to start. By doing that, it sent a message to us that we really weren't wanted at the meeting. It isn't like Brad called you on Sunday and said, let's do this tomorrow. No, it was planned. And legally, you do have the right to wait until the 18-hour mark, but it is not a best practice, and it's rude. There's a lot of information that came out of that work session. I'd like to focus specifically on committees. When committees are formed and empowered to make decisions like hire consultants or select an SEL curriculum, those meetings are required to be open to the public, allow for public comment, and minutes must be taken under the Open Meetings Act, and this has not happened. I know that DEIB has been paused, so let's focus on SEL. The SEL committee selected a curriculum that has been piloted in our elementary schools, all before a presentation was made to you, to us. They were clearly empowered to make decisions. Some of your committees have been shrouded in secrecy and are in absolute violation of the Open Meetings Act. Although there was very low attendance at the last work session, I am thankful that it was recorded. Thank you. We now know what to expect going forward, and we expect you to follow the law. Parents shouldn't have to file FOIA requests to gain access to minutes from a meeting that should have been legally open to the public. Knowing that the SEL committee was in clear violation of the Open Meetings Act, I request that the SEL curriculum be halted immediately in all HPS classrooms. If you insist on pursuing this curriculum, you need to do it legally. I look forward to attending the next SEL committee meeting, so please keep us posted on when that's going to be scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Norma Crockett.
Again, I'm sorry.
Norma Hockett. Randy Beist.
Greetings, Board. To our veterans, happy Veterans Day, and I'm deeply thankful for their service, whether they're former graduates or live in our community or elsewhere. I had an uncle who served in the Vietnam War, and he saw some major atrocities and it changed his life forever. What an amazing open board meeting tonight. Thank you so much. Mr. Hall, I can't imagine being in your shoes. Absolutely astounding. Thank you. I appreciated the discussion about the screen. The bigger the better, absolutely, because it'll be undersized in the next year, and I'm all for the hot tub. More honestly, though, the people behind me and their teachers. I have some of my dearest friends are teachers in neighboring districts, and they not only have to deal with all of the COVID protocols right now and their coworkers being sick and their administrators being sick as well, but everything that they have to go through. So my heart could not be fuller. My two young adult children are thriving, and the reason I really came up here, however, was Monday night I had the honor to go to this Hudsonville Education Foundation thing. I'd never been before. I've been to lots of that the big banquets for the sports, because that's what we love in Hudsonville, along with our education. What an incredible, incredible evening. The 5 graduates were inducted into the Hall of Fame. 3 of them could speak, and I could not be more proud of the foundation and their work. But in addition, it just simply reminded me of these people. And one final little thing that I wanted to share is I went home and I shared with my 3 kids. I texted them, and we have a family text, which is awesome fun as they get older. And I said, hey, have any of you had Mr. Roberts, who got an Innovation in Education Award, as did Mr. Ratier last year? And my son, who's at Kalamazoo College, said, yeah, I had Mr. Roberts, and he was absolutely fantastic. And I was like, that's awesome, because he was obviously recognized in the program. And then my youngest, who's a sophomore, said she has Mr. Ratier right now, and she said, I think it's Rotier, is that right? Sorry, it's Rotier. And she simply said, he's the GOAT. And when kids say that, I'm simply honored. And she's had the ability to have him as a teacher first hour this trimester, and she'll definitely miss him next try. So thanks for helping be part of the night and helping make it happen. And to all of you, thank you so very much.
Thank you for your comments. All set? Okay. All right, thank you for all your public comments. We do appreciate them. And as you can see, board members are up there taking notes. And so we do, again, we thank you for being here and for your comments. Okay, with that, we'll do a board roundtable before we adjourn. Mr. Tuttle, anything you'd like to share?
Thank you. It's great to have the administrators back sharing what's going on in the buildings, and thrilled to hear about all the parents getting back into the buildings. I know that's something that's really important to all of us in the whole process for the kids. So love the stories. Glad that we got that back. I think we all look forward to being able to get to even more normalcy than we have today.
Yes, and thank you for reminding us why we are here. I greatly appreciate your updates. Melanie, thank you so much for allowing me to come and see the 2 classrooms teach some amazing things to their students, and your office staff. In between the observations, I was like blown away by your office staff, how much multitasking they did and all the little things that they take care of, and I just mind-boggling. I know that's happening at all of your schools, but please thank them. I know their job is one of those that, no good deed goes unpunished, and no one really appreciates what all they do, so thank you for that. Andy, thank you for sticking around. Appreciate having you in that position. Excited to see what's going to happen on that. Thank you so much.
Great. I will also, since the last board meeting, I want to thank Randy Waldy at Georgetown for for, again, inviting me in to spend some time seeing our teachers in action with our elementary students. That was very enlightening and informative, and I appreciate that. And Mr. Beal already mentioned the We the People competition, or the pre-competition, I guess, that we were at today. So encouraging to see those students and how their grasp of our Constitution, their grasp of civics, and we're looking for great things from them as they go to districts and state, hopefully. So thanks for that. Mr. Davis?
Kenzie, thanks for letting me come to your classroom. Appreciate that very much.
Andy, I thank you for all the things I've been part of there at Jamestown. I know Dawn is kind of ticked off that I don't go to park as much, but thank you anyway.
Excellent. Okay, with that, can I have a motion, please, to adjourn? Motion by Chad Tuttle, support from Larry Kappenga. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.